The two most harmful investments for destroying savings following 60 either. As you get older, protecting your savings and securing your financial independence becomes even more important. But what if I told you that two common investments you might even believe are safe could actually be destroying your money after 60? If you've ever worried about watching your nest egg shrink, or wondered why no matter how careful you are it still feels like your money isn't growing, then you need to hear this. What I'm about to share may surprise you, and it might even explain exactly why your hard-earned savings feel less stable than they should. It doesn't matter if you've been frugal, careful, or diligent. There are two investments that millions of seniors continue to put their trust in, and yet they quietly erode financial security year after year. The most shocking part, they're often sold to seniors as safe, conservative options. You may even have purchased them at the recommendation of a banker, financial advisor, or a well-meaning friend who thought they were helping you. But in reality, these two money traps can limit your growth, drain your reserves, and in some cases even put you at risk of losing your independence. Before I reveal what these two wealth-destroying investments are, let's understand how common financial habits after 60 can actually sabotage stability. Some patterns seem harmless: playing it too safe, sticking with what you know, or chasing something that looks too good to be true. But every dollar has more responsibility in retirement. Every mistake can be more costly than it was at 40 or 50. Your money must work harder, without putting you at unnecessary risk. Unfortunately, the wrong choices can make your savings weaker, heavier, and harder to manage. Just as weak legs can limit your physical freedom, weak investments can limit your financial freedom. And here's the terrifying part: these mistakes don't just exist out there. They're in your daily financial life. Every transaction, every statement, every retirement account update could be feeding these traps. Think of it like this: each dollar invested in the wrong place isn't just sitting there. It's actively working against you. But it doesn't have to be this way. Once you know what to avoid and what to replace it with, you can recover strength in your finances, build resilience into your savings, and keep control of your wealth for years to come. If you want to maintain your financial independence after 60 and age without worrying about outliving your money, stay with me until the end, because only then will I reveal the two worst investments that silently destroy retirement savings. You'll understand why they're harmful, how to spot them, and what smarter choices look like. But first, let's start by exposing some common financial habits that drain seniors' wealth far faster than they realize. Many seniors carry balances on credit cards or personal loans. On the surface, it seems manageable. Maybe you think of it as a small monthly payment, or a temporary bridge until your next pension or social security check arrives. But here's the truth: high-interest debt is one of the fastest ways to weaken your financials. With interest rates often above 20%, even a modest balance can spiral into a money trap. Each month you're paying more interest than you're paying down principal, which means the bank grows richer while your savings grow weaker. Carrying this burden after 60 is especially dangerous, because you have less time and less earning power to dig yourself out. Have you ever noticed that no matter how much you pay, your balance seems to barely move? That's no accident. It's the design of compounding interest, but working against you instead of for you. The heavier that burden becomes, the more freedom you lose. Eliminating high-interest debt is one of the most important steps you can take to regain control. Luxury purchases: you've worked your whole life, and it's natural to want to reward yourself. A new car, a remodeled kitchen, a vacation package that looks irresistible. But here's the hidden cost: every luxury purchase past 60 has a double effect. First, it drains capital that could have been working for you in retirement accounts. Second, it often creates new ongoing costs: insurance, maintenance, upgrades, that quietly nibble away at your monthly budget. Over time, the lifestyle creep these purchases cause can leave your retirement savings feeling hollow, much like empty calories weaken your body. And what feels like joy in the short term can become regret when you realize those dollars could have been compounding instead. Were you aware that a $30,000 luxury car bought at 62 could have been $50,000 or more in a safe growth account by 72? The hidden cost is opportunity, and it's enormous. Choosing wisely now means keeping your freedom later. Over-reliance on low-yield savings accounts. Many seniors cling to traditional savings accounts because they feel safe. And while it's true you won't lose money directly, you are losing purchasing power every single day. With inflation averaging 3% or more and savings accounts often paying less than 1%, The math is devastating. What looks safe is actually a slow leak in your financial bucket. Imagine filling a jar with water that has a tiny hole at the bottom. Over time, no matter how much you put in, it drains away. That's exactly what inflation does to low-yield savings accounts. The result is less power, less independence, and more anxiety about rising costs. And in retirement, every dollar of buying power counts. Helping adult children financially. This is one of the most emotional wealth traps seniors fall into. Whether it's covering rent, co-signing a loan, or bailing out a child from debt, many parents feel obligated to help. But after 60, your financial foundation must come first. Every dollar given away is a dollar you can't use for healthcare, housing, or emergency. Worse, many adult children never repay, and this generosity becomes a recurring drain. Have you ever found yourself sacrificing your own stability to rescue someone else? While helping family is admirable, it must be done with boundary. Otherwise, you risk creating a cycle where your savings shrink, while your own independence disappears. The difficult truth is that by weakening yourself financially, you may become more of a burden later. Protecting your own foundation is the best gift you can give to those you love. Timeshares. These shiny vacation offers seem like a dream. Who doesn't want guaranteed trips in sunny locations? But timeshares are notorious for draining seniors' savings. With high upfront costs, annual maintenance fees, and difficulty reselling, they quickly turn into money traps. Have you noticed how companies push urgency, buy today, or lose the deal? That's because they know the long-term math doesn't work for you. It works for them. Owning a timeshare is like owning a leaking boat. At first, it seems like smooth sailing, but soon you realize you're bailing out water constantly, just to stay afloat. For many seniors, this expense becomes a regret that lingers for years. And we're only just beginning. Because while these everyday habits quietly eat away at your savings, the two worst investments, the ones almost everyone believes are safe, are still ahead, and they may shock you. Stick with me because soon I'll reveal what they are, why they're so harmful, and how you can protect yourself starting now. As we continue, it's important to remember that every decision with your money past 60 carries more weight than before. A mistake at 40 might only take a few years of work to recover. A mistake at 65 or 70 can permanently weaken your financial independence. That's why so many seniors find themselves puzzled. How can they be careful, avoid risky gambles, and still feel their savings slipping away? The answer is that wealth loss rarely happens in one big blow. Instead, it leaks out through habits, overlooked costs, and seemingly safe financial decisions that over time chip away at stability. Overpriced insurance policies. Insurance can be valuable, but many seniors are oversold on policies they don't need or that cost far more than the protection they provide. Whole life insurance, unnecessary riders, or policies with hidden fees are pushed with promises of security. But in reality, they drain savings through monthly premiums that could otherwise be working for you. Have you ever noticed how insurance agents emphasize peace of mind but rarely break down the long-term math? A policy that costs hundreds of dollars each month across 15 years can quietly add up to tens of thousands of dollars lost, money that might never be returned in benefit. The hidden danger is that fear drives purchase decisions, and fear-based products rarely serve your wealth. Seniors must carefully evaluate if each policy is essential or simply a financial weight disguised as safety. Chasing high-yield guaranteed products. As interest rates fluctuate, many companies push products that promise unusually high returns with no risk. This could be a bond-like note, a structured product, or even certain high-fee annuities. They sound perfect. Stability plus growth. But in reality, these are often packed with fine print caps on gains, surrender charges, and restrictions on access. What happens if you need your money early? You pay a penalty. What happens if the market grows more than your cap allows? You miss the upside. Over time, what seemed like a good deal ends up underperforming and locking away your flexibility. For someone past 60, liquidity and freedom are critical. You can't afford to have your money tied up while inflation eats away at your cost. That's why these products, though marketed as safe, often erode long-term wealth quietly. Ignoring healthcare costs. This isn't a traditional investment, but it's one of the biggest hidden drains on senior saving. Medical bills, prescriptions, hospital stays. These can eat through a nest egg faster than any bad stock pick. The trap comes when seniors fail to plan for rising healthcare costs, assuming Medicare or basic insurance will cover everything. The truth is, gaps in coverage can cost tens of thousands out of pocket. Have you ever seen a neighbor or relative forced to sell assets just to pay for care? That's not rare, it's common. Without planning, even a single medical event can derail decades of careful saving. Protecting against this means budgeting specifically for health, choosing supplemental plans wisely, and avoiding the temptation to ignore this looming expense, because nothing destroys financial security faster than unexpected medical costs. Investing too conservative, many seniors swing to the extreme of safety. They avoid stocks completely, keep everything in cash, or only choose fixed instruments with near-zero returns. On the surface, this feels like protection, but in reality, it's another trap. If your money isn't growing at least as fast as inflation, it's shrinking. Imagine walking up an escalator that's moving down. Even if you stay still, you're actually losing ground. That's what happens when your savings fail to keep up with rising prices. This trap is especially harmful because it feels comfortable. You don't see sudden losses, but quietly, year after year, your buying power melts away. By the time you notice, it may be too late. Balanced, diversified investments, not extreme caution, are what protect wealth. After overconfidence in real estate, many seniors believe property is always safe, always profitable. And while real estate can be powerful, it's also a money trap when misunderstood. Owning multiple properties, especially if financed, can turn into a burden. Market downturns, vacancies, high property taxes, and repair costs all eat away at returns. Some seniors assume they'll live off rental income, only to discover that net cash flow is far smaller than expected once expenses pile up. Have you ever met someone who called themselves house rich, but cash poor? That's the reality of seniors whose wealth is trapped in bricks and mortar but unavailable for everyday life. Real estate isn't automatically safe. It must be carefully balanced with liquidity and manageable costs. Otherwise, it can weaken your finances rather than strengthen them. Falling for scams and too good to be true offers. Seniors are often targeted with promises of doubling their money, insider tips, or secret investment clubs. The problem isn't just losing the initial money, it's the emotional toll. Once burned, many seniors become too fearful to invest at all, swinging back to overly conservative choices that cost them growth. Scammers know how to exploit fear, urgency, and they may even appear as friendly advisors or community members. The reality is, every dollar lost to fraud after 60 is nearly impossible to replace. Protecting against this means being skeptical, verifying everything, and refusing to invest in what you don't fully understand. Each of these traps contributes to the slow weakening of your financial foundation. You may not notice the damage right away, just as you don't always notice gradual changes in your health. But over time, they accumulate. And as you lose flexibility, as you lose buying power, the independence you've worked for begins to slip away. But remember, these are not even the worst offender. The two most dangerous investments, the ones that millions of seniors continue to trust, even though they quietly destroy savings, are still ahead. In fact, many of you may have them in your portfolio right now, believing they're protecting you, when in reality they're setting you up for long-term loss. When I reveal them, you'll understand why they're so destructive, and why financial professionals continue to recommend them despite the damage. Stay with me, because what you discover next could save your retirement savings from disappearing before your eyes. By now you can see how many of the everyday financial decisions after 60 can quietly eat away at your savings. Some of them are obvious once pointed out, like high-interest debt or overpriced insurance, while others disguise themselves as sensible and responsible choices. That's the trick. The most dangerous traps aren't the flashy scams, they're the ordinary, common investments that millions of people fall into believing they are safe. And these traps don't just cost dollars. They cost peace of mind, flexibility, and independence. When your money isn't working for you, it forces you to make harder choices about your health, your lifestyle, and your future. And the longer you leave it, the more damage is done. Over-investing in certificates of deposit. At first glance, CDs look safe and stable. They promise a guaranteed return, backed by the bank, and many seniors feel comforted by that certainty. But the problem is deeper. The rates of return on CDs are often so low that once you factor in inflation and taxes, you're losing money in real terms. Imagine locking away $50,000 for 5 years, only to discover that when you get it back, it buys less than it did the day you invested. That's not safety, that's erosion. Worse, CDs tie up your money. If you need access in an emergency, you pay a penalty. Liquidity disappears just when you might need it most. Have you ever thought, at least I can't lose with a CD? The truth is, you're losing every single day, you just don't see the number go down on the statement. That invisible loss is far more dangerous than a visible one, because it lulls you into a false sense of security. Relying too heavily on company stock. Many seniors worked for decades in a single company, and it feels natural to trust that company with their retirement savings. Maybe you received stock options or bought shares at a discount while employed. The loyalty feels justified, but this is one of the most dangerous traps for wealth after 60. Putting too much of your retirement into one company is like building your house on a single pillar. If that company stumbles, your entire financial foundation can collapse. We've seen it happen before. Major corporations that seemed indestructible vanish overnight, wiping out life savings of employees who thought they were making the safest choice. Even if the company survives, its stock may stagnate for years, leaving your portfolio exposed and underperforming. Diversification isn't just a buzzword, it's survival. Have you ever thought, my company stock has always treated me well, so it will continue? That's hope, not strategy. At this point, you may be feeling the weight of these lessons. Perhaps you recognize yourself in some of these traps. Maybe you've used CDs for years, or maybe you've helped your adult children a bit too generously. Or maybe you've clung to company stock out of loyalty. The important thing is not to feel guilt or shame. These are common because they're marketed as safe. They're sold by people who sound trustworthy, and they're easy decisions in a world that makes financial planning seem confusing. But you need to know, just because something feels safe doesn't mean it is safe. And that brings us to the two worst investments that drain seniors' savings after 60. These are not fringe ideas. They're not strange schemes. They are mainstream, widely recommended, and often sold by professionals who claim they are helping you. But behind the curtain, they destroy wealth through hidden fees, poor returns, and structures designed to benefit the seller, not the investor. These two investments don't just weaken your financial health. They actively rob you of the independence you worked a lifetime to achieve. Before I name them, let's take a moment to reflect on why seniors are especially vulnerable. Past 60, time is the most valuable resource. You can't easily work more years to replace money lost. You don't have decades for slow compounding to rescue a bad decision, and you're often more cautious, more trusting, and more focused on safety, which makes you the perfect target for financial products that promise security, but deliver the opposite. Companies know this, and they design their marketing to appeal to your desire for peace of mind. They offer contracts filled with complicated terms, banking on the fact that most people won't read the fine print. And once you've signed, it's difficult or sometimes impossible to escape without heavy penalties. The truth is, some of the worst investments are the ones dressed up to look like protective shields. They're promoted in banks, on TV, and even in senior seminars. You may have already been offered them, or worse, already bought them. And you may not even realize the harm they're doing until years later when it's too late. That's why what I'm about to reveal is so important. Think of your savings like your legs. You need them strong, stable, and dependable to carry you through the years ahead. But if you load them with unnecessary weight or starve them of nutrition, they weaken and eventually they give way. In the same way, if your money is trapped in low-growth, high-cost, restrictive investments, it loses power. It becomes sluggish, and instead of carrying you into a secure retirement, it collapses beneath you. These two worst investments are like that. They pretend to support you, but in reality they undermine you. They might look different on paper, one promising guaranteed returns, the other offering lifetime income. But the result is the same. They lock your money away, drain it with hidden costs, and leave you with less than you deserve. Soon I will reveal exactly what these two investments are, how they damage your finances, and what you can do instead to regain strength. You'll see why millions of seniors fall into them, why advisors push them so hard, and how to protect yourself from becoming another victim. The reveal is coming next. And once you know, you'll never look at these so-called safe investments the same way again. You've stayed with me this far, and now it's time to uncover the truth. All of the traps we've discussed weaken your finances, but two stand above the rest. These are the ones pushed hardest on seniors, wrapped in promises of safety, and yet they quietly destroy savings year after year. If you've ever wondered why your retirement accounts don't seem to grow, or why you feel locked into financial products you don't fully understand, chances are one of these two culprits is to blame. The first is high-fee variable annuities. At first they sound like the perfect retirement tool. Guaranteed income for life, tax-deferred growth, and protection against market downturns. But here's the ugly truth. The fees on these products are often astronomical. Sometimes 3% or more every single year. That means before you earn a single dollar of growth, the company has already taken a big bite out of your savings. Over 10 or 15 years, those fees compound into tens of thousands of dollars lost. And the so-called guarantees? They're often riddled with fine print. The lifetime income is usually just your own money paid back slowly, while the insurance company pockets the growth. Have you ever tried to take your money out early? The surrender penalties can be crushing, sometimes lasting for more than a decade. Imagine having $200,000 in savings, but being unable to access it without losing tens of thousands in penalties. That's not security. That's a trap. Seniors are targeted with these because they sound safe, but in reality, they shackle your money, bleed it with hidden costs, and rob you of flexibility at the time in your life when flexibility matters most. The second is long-term fixed income bonds with poor yield. Bonds are often sold as the conservative backbone of retirement portfolios, and they can have a role, but locking into long-term low-yield bonds after 60 can be devastating. Here's why. When inflation is 3, 4, or 5%, and your bond is only paying 2%, you are losing money every single year. The purchasing power of your savings erodes quietly, and by the time the bond matures, the dollars you get back buy far less than they did when you invested. And unlike stocks, bonds don't give you growth to offset inflation. Worse, if you need to sell them early because of an emergency, you could take a loss if interest rates have risen. What felt like a safe, stable investment can become a shrinking anchor dragging down your entire portfolio. Have you ever been told bonds are safe for retirement? That advice may have been true decades ago, but today, with rising prices and longer lifespans, it can turn into a slow, invisible wealth destroyer. These two investments, high-fee variable annuities and long-term low-yield bonds, are the vitamin A and D of the financial world. On the surface, they look protective, even essential, but in excess or without the right context, they weaken your financial health instead of strengthening it. Advisors and companies push them because they're profitable for the sellers, not for you. And seniors continue to buy them because they're presented with comforting words like guarantee, protection, and lifetime. But behind those words lies a reality of hidden costs, lost growth, and limited freedom. If you've already invested in one of these, don't panic. The first step is awareness. Review the terms carefully, look at the fees, and consider speaking to a truly independent advisor who can help you evaluate whether to hold, adjust, or exit. If you haven't yet, then this knowledge is your protection. You can now recognize the warning signs when someone tries to push these products on you. Ask questions, demand clarity, and always remember, if an investment sounds too safe, too simple, or too good to be true, you need to look deeper. We're not done yet. In the final part, I'll show you what you can do instead. How to replace these wealth traps with smarter, stronger choices that protect your independence and give your money the power to last. Most importantly, I'll reveal the principles that keep your savings healthy for the rest of your life. Because avoiding the wrong moves is only half the battle. The other half is knowing the right ones. Stay with me until the end, because the path to secure wealth after 60 is about to become clear. Now that you know the two worst investments that quietly drain seniors' savings, variable annuities stuffed with hidden fees and long-term low-yield bonds that lose to inflation, the question is, what should you do instead? Because avoiding mistakes is important, but replacing them with better strategies is how you secure your independence. After 60, your money has a very specific job. It must protect you, sustain you, and still grow enough to keep pace with rising costs. The challenge is balancing safety with strength, and that balance is where many people stumble. But the good news is, with the right approach, you can rebuild confidence in your finances and ensure your savings work for you, not against you. The first principle is diversification. No single product should hold the weight of your retirement. If your wealth is concentrated in one place, whether it's company stock, annuities, or a single bond ladder, you're exposed. Instead, spreading across different asset classes reduces risk and opens more opportunities. A healthy portfolio for a senior often includes a mix of dividend-paying stocks for income, short to medium-term bonds for stability, and perhaps some exposure to real estate or index funds for growth. The exact percentages depend on your needs, but the key is variety. Think of it like your diet. Eating only one food, even if it seems healthy, eventually leaves you weak. A balanced mix keeps your finances nourished. The second principle is liquidity. Past 60, flexibility is priceless. Emergencies happen. Medical bills, home repairs, or unexpected family needs. You cannot afford to have your money trapped behind surrender charges or long lock-in periods. That's why low-cost index funds or short-term government bonds often make more sense than complicated products. They allow you to access your savings when you need them, without crippling penalties. Ask yourself, if I needed this money tomorrow, could I get it without a fight? If the answer is no, that investment may not deserve your trust. The third principle is cost awareness. Many seniors are shocked to discover how much they lose to fees. A mutual fund that charges 1% per year may not sound like much, but over 20 years it can eat away a third of your potential growth. An annuity with a 3% annual drag is even worse. It's like carrying a heavy backpack every step of your financial journey. The lighter your load, the farther your money can carry you. That's why low-cost ETFs and index funds have become so powerful. They give you broad exposure without bleeding you dry with management fees. The less you pay out, the more stays in your pocket. The fourth principle is planning for inflation. Inflation is the silent thief that steals purchasing power year after year. Many seniors underestimate it, believing a fixed income will suffice. But when groceries, healthcare, and housing rise faster than your income, you feel the squeeze. The solution is to own assets that naturally grow with inflation. Stocks, real estate, and even certain commodities can help offset rising costs. You don't need to take wild risks, but you do need some exposure to growth assets. A portfolio frozen in fear loses ground every year, while a balanced one adapts and survives. The fifth principle is healthcare preparation. Financial independence means little if medical bills wipe out your savings. Setting aside funds in health savings accounts, if eligible, choosing supplemental Medicare wisely, or even keeping a specific emergency reserve for care expenses can protect you. This isn't just about money, it's about peace of mind. When you know you're prepared for the unexpected, you can enjoy your retirement without constant worry. The sixth principle is saying no when needed. Many seniors lose wealth not through bad investments, but through generosity without limit. Helping adult children, bailing out relatives, or co-signing risky loans can drain a lifetime of careful saving. Remember, protecting your financial foundation is not selfish, it's essential. If you collapse financially, you may end up needing help yourself, which is the last thing your loved ones want. Sometimes the best gift you can give is showing strength and stability, not financial rescue. Finally, the most important principle is guidance, but not just any guidance, the right kind. Too many financial advisors are salespeople in disguise, earning commissions by selling the very products that hurt seniors most. What you need is transparency. Advisors who charge flat fees or fiduciaries legally required to act in your best interest. And if you prefer to manage your money yourself, commit to continuous learning. Knowledge is your strongest protection. Just as you wouldn't take medication without knowing the side effects, you shouldn't invest without understanding the true costs and risks. So where does this leave you? Imagine your savings as the legs that carry you through the rest of life. We've seen how poor choices like high-interest debt, luxury overspending, or toxic investments like high-fee annuities act like heavy weights, dragging you down. We've seen how supposedly safe choices like CDs or low-yield bonds act like malnutrition, weakening your financial muscles over time. But with smart diversification, liquidity, low fees, and growth-oriented planning, you can restore strength to those financial legs. You can walk forward with confidence, knowing your money supports your freedom instead of undermining it. Now I want you to think, which of these traps have you fallen into? Which of these healthier principles can you start applying today? Leave a comment below, I read every one, and tell me where you're starting from. And if this video has opened your eyes, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me guide more seniors to protect their wealth. And remember, you don't need to chase the fanciest investments, nor fear every decision. You only need to stay alert, avoid the traps, and stick to the proven principles that work. Independence after 60 is possible, but it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. If you want to keep learning, don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications so you never miss another video that protects your health and wealth. And right now, on your screen, you'll see my next video, the 3 essential financial moves every senior should make before retirement. Click on it now, and I'll see you there.